Hi, my name is Joe, and I'm here to help you prepare for the 2012 All-Earth ECOBOT Challenge. Alright, so our first step is going to be to set up the game table. And the first part of this is setting up the mat and the border walls. Step 2 of preparing your game table is going to be setting out your game pieces in exactly the right place. And step 3 of preparing your game table is going to be putting up visual aids to help kids better understand what exactly it is that they're dealing with. So, how about we get this thing started? So, let us begin with the foundation of your ECOBOT table, which is the 3x5 board. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to take this board and we are going to lay it out flat on a table. So the next step of preparing your ECOBOT table is putting the 3x5 mat on top of the 3x5 board and taping down the corners. So let's get started. And alright, so here we have the 3x5 mat. Let's go ahead and roll this thing out. Alright, so our next step here is going to be fixing the 3x5 ECOBOT mat to the 3x5 board. I recommend using a little bit of Scotch tape and just taping it down. But if you can come up with a more creative way, feel free to do so. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright. But please do remember, it is very important that your mat is as flat as possible and as closely touching the board as you can get it. So you want to avoid using big, bulky items to stick your mat to the board. And you'll want to remember that you only want to put maybe one piece of tape on each corner, and that should be enough to hold down your mat. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do is we want to take our drill or a screwdriver and some screws, and we want to connect all of our ultrasonic boards to the circumference of the mat. Here's how it goes. And really, all you'll need to do is just put maybe 1 or 2 screws in the bracket to hold the boards together. Anything more than that, it's just a little bit overage, but it's up to you. One of the last elements that we like to do in order to prepare your game table is to secure the border to the board a little bit so it doesn't move around too much. This is optional, but here's just a little trick on how we've been doing it that kind of makes it a little bit easier for you. Take a little duct tape, put it right here, problem solved. So now that we have our game table all complete and ready to go, our next step is to take our game pieces and put them in the very special, specific places around the table. So let's go ahead and do that now. Alright, so first we have the maglev train. Okay, so what you want to do with the maglev train is set it right down here. First, you want to make sure that this lever is all the way back. You want to make sure that the train is all the way to the right. And you want to make sure that this lever is sitting just like this. Your maglev train should be straight and parallel with the border wall. And you want to make sure that your black gear is right above that black line right here. If that's the way it is, then you are ready to go. Step 2 in placing your game pieces is to take the Metro bus located right here and move it into place by putting the little black tires right on top of the diagonal lines right here. And we want to make sure that the battery is all the way back here, and we want to make sure this lever is sticking up and that this lever is actually all the way down. And if you have that, you're ready to go. And another part of the Metro bus is delivering the bicycle to the Metro bus. And you can really just put this anywhere inside a home base. And before the game starts, you can even have it outside a base. Really, it's your choice. Step 3 in putting your game pieces in the right place is your airplane. Okay? Here we have the airplane, which it needs to be placed very precisely with these 2 little black gears right in the middle of the blue line. And then your winglet needs to be right here in the middle between this blue line and the end of the black line, and also centered this way as well. The marble needs to be right here in the rim. This little lever needs to be right up like that, and then you need to have your winglet right here in the middle so that it splits this distance and this distance. All that set, you're ready to go. Your next step is putting the wind turbine in the right place. What we're gonna do is set the wind turbine right here on this little yellow box, okay? You wanna make sure that the axle is facing home base so that the robot has a direct line of sight to come over here and turn this little lever just like this. If you have it like that, you're ready to go. The last element of setting up your ECOBOT game pieces is dealing with the container ship, which the container ship is a CD case, which all it needs to be done is just slide the CD case into this little yellow marker right here. Square it up, and then you set your game pieces set the red game piece right here. You can put your green game piece here, and this tin foil covered object right here. And now that you have all this done, you're ready to compete. And so here we are with step number 3, which is going to be taking the visual aids and putting them on the borders. The purpose in setting up these visual aids is so that the students or the team members, they can have a little bit better idea of what type of elements that they're working with here. They'll be able to see better that this is an airplane, and through the picture they can see what a winglet looks like. And for example, here you can see better pictures of what a wind turbine would look like. And so this really does help the kids grasp and conceptualize what it is they're really working with. Whenever you're attaching your container ship to the CD case, what you'll want to do is just make sure that there is no extra hanging over the edges of the CD case. You'll want to take a pair of scissors and just make some cuts along the edges and then tape it down on the sides. And I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do this right here. And step 4 of setting up your ECOBOT game table is going to be discussing the points and how points are gained and how points are lost. And here we have the Metro bus. You want to make sure that at no point during your 120 seconds that neither one of these tires right here touch the black rectangular line out here in front of the Metro bus. And so if one touches it, that's okay. But if 2 touch it, then unfortunately you're going to lose all the points for the Metro bus. However, you still will be able to get the points for delivering the bicycle. And here on the airplane, the way that you would lose the potential for getting these points is by allowing this tire here and this tire here to both cross the blue line or touch the blue line. Okay, you want to make sure that at no time during your 120 seconds that neither one of these 2 front tires right here come to touch the blue line. Okay, now if one touches, like same as the Metro bus, no big deal, but as soon as both of them touch or cross, you lose the potential for all of the points that are on the airplane. On the wind turbine, the only way that you can lose the potential for these points, well, there's 2 ways actually. Number 1 is knocking the tuna can completely off of this yellow square, or 2, knocking the windmill over. If either one of those happen, unfortunately the referee is going to take away the potential to get these points as well. In here with your deliverable items, it is very important that you understand that these items must begin their delivery on the inside of this black line, okay? Do not load them up onto your robot or set them out here on this black space right here and then push them over here, because then your judge would unfortunately have to take these out of the potential for you getting these points. And of course the same thing works with your solar panel. And remember, you can start the solar panel or the delivery of your modern engine by setting it on the ground, or you can have these elevated somewhere on top of your robot. Once again, the choice is yours. One of the most important rules about the All Earth ECOBOT Challenge, whenever you're out there and your robot is performing, you need to understand when you can touch your robot and when you may not touch your robot, okay? If your robot's out doing a mission, okay, you cannot touch the robot whenever it is outside of home base. Now, what defines that? As soon as all parts of your robot have left this black line right here on the outside of this thing, as soon as all parts have left that part, this line right here, then your robot is outside of home base. And you cannot touch your robot again until your robot comes back and either touches that black line or a piece of the robot is hanging over the black line. Do wires count? No, wires do not count. The referee considers the wires to be invisible. So if your wires are hanging over this black line right here, that will not be counted as being back inside of home base. So make sure a wheel or some Lego or some piece of your robot is actually hanging over. Next, when to touch your robot whenever you are retrieving an item. For example, right here we have this item, this old motor that needs to be retrieved off the boat. You want to make sure that whenever your robot goes out on its mission and it comes back, as you see here, you cannot touch the robot until the retrievable item is either hovering or touching this black line. So as soon as this retrievable item touches this black line right here, then and only then may you touch your robot. Unfortunately, what will happen if you touch your robot, say whenever your robot's inside a home base and the retrievable item is out here outside the black line, the referee would take away that retrievable item and then you would not be able to get it. Okay, so whenever we're talking about where your robot needs to start running its program, each program that you run with your robot, this means the beginning of the robot's mission, all programs must begin on the inside of the black marker here, okay? So that means make sure that no wheel or no parts are hovering over the black line whenever you run a new program. So during the 120 seconds, you may be running 7 or 8, 9 different programs. And every time the robot comes back, make sure that all parts are on the white only and no parts are hanging over the black. All right, and if you do this, your judge will definitely give you all the points that are necessary. So what happens if you do touch your robot outside of base? If your robot is outside of base and you have to touch it, it's not the end of the world. What's going to happen is in the beginning of the game, before you even started, you began with 25 bonus points. Everybody gets to keep those 25 bonus points. And if you touch your robot outside of base, what's going to happen is you're just going to lose 5 of those points. Now, unfortunately, for each time that you touch your robot outside of home base, you're going to lose 5 points each time. And if it goes above that, then what the judge will do is be instructed to take away some of the deliverable or retrievable items.